How would you describe Mr. Mandel in 3 words?
I would describe Mr. Mandel as inspiring, dependable, and trustworthy because he truly is the rock of the team and he is someone you could go to for anything whenever you need it.
It'd definitely be funny, responsible, and caring.
Quarterback, and he's fashionable.
Sucks at video games.
How would you describe Ms. Benyash in 3 words?
Kickboxing, folk dash music, and government.
For Miss Beniosh, radiant, supporting, and empathetic.
Ms. Benyash is controlled and my savior.
In 3 words, I would describe Miss Beniosh as kind, caring, and considerate.
Try to stop the fire. I wouldn't test you. I'm not the best you could have attained. Why try anything? I will get there.
How would you describe Mr. John in 3 words?
Empowering, approachable, and insightful.
I would describe Mr. John as very smart, he's also very helpful, and he's very organized.
Mr. John is the concise email responder.
What is your favorite moment with Mr. John?
My favorite moment with Mr. John has been any time we've been talking about raves or Nietzsche together. I appreciate so much when we were at the delegate dance with the Italian delegates screaming after looking like they've just done cocaine, and Mr. John was reading in the corner Nietzsche.
I would definitely have to think about the time at New York with Mr. John when he was talking about his wild, crazy life outside basically dominating the Granada test sphere. And I just realized that advisors are people too, and they live lives outside of MUN. And honestly, it just made me feel a lot closer to the team, a lot closer to the world around me, and it was just nice getting to know him in that break between committee that was a little bit more stressful at times.
So there isn't one particular experience, but kind of a variety of experience that I've had with them. I think my favorite would be going to Triton Mine with advisors, hearing about the amazing rave that Mr. John went to the night before, and now he has to drive us to San Diego. As well as just traveling around all of the different competitions we went to, learning about their lives, learning about their experiences throughout their lives, and just having a lot of fun with the advisors over our many competitions that we went to, particularly New York and Berkeley.
What is your favorite MUN experience with any of the advisors?
My favorite MUN experiences have all been at NISMUN. That was my first big conference that I went to in junior year. But what just happened at the last NISMUN was sitting in the cafe waiting for committee to start and having Edward give a speech about the feminization of women, and everyone just dying laughing for 10 minutes, and then Stephanie's unfortunate text message which made us laugh for 10 more minutes. That was just such a wholesome moment, and it's something I'll still laugh about to this day. And that's probably something even though it's very funny and kind of stupid, I'll probably remember for the rest of my life.
My favorite MUN experience is actually when we were in New York on my birthday. We were all super tired from going to the MoMA because we took the red-eye flight into New York, and we were all devastated. But then we realized we had no water. So me, Alex, Mr. Mandel, Juliana, Bianca, Mr. John all went to Walgreens to go get water. We got about 8 cases, not realizing how heavy they were and how far of a walk it was back to the hotel. And even though we were all groggy, we somehow made it work, even though those the few minutes that were the most painful ever to my biceps. But it's always a memory I'll look upon fondly because we were all just joking about it on the way back, kind of making a good situation out of a bad one. and that's an experience I'll have with me forever.
Go, John! Yes, yes, go, John, go! Yeah!
What is your favorite moment with Miss Benyash?
I think my favorite moment with Miss Benyash was at Berkeley because we just finished our Time on workshop. And she took us to a cafe, and then it was just me, Desiree, and Miss Benyash. And we were just talking about like whatever, and Miss Benyash was telling about how like some of her life and like her past. It was just really interesting because like becoming personal with those teachers is so interesting because like you just learn so much about them. It's really fun. So yeah.
Favorite MUN experience with Miss Benyash is walking around the streets of New York and seeing one building with a bunch of wedding dresses all over it, and then we were talking about wedding planning Pinterest for a solid 30 minutes.
My favorite MUN experience with Miss Benyash was the drive to San Diego for Triton MUN, because being able to understand how wonderful she is as a person just made me love the MUN team so much more, because I got to understand someone who really cared about me.
My favorite moment with Ms. Benyash was getting to hang out with her during MUN, especially when she took time out of her schedule to take us to the workshop and making sure we had the proper preparation. She's just always given us such love and support throughout the whole MUN experience. And I'm really sad that she's going to be gone next year, but I'm also really happy for her because she's going into a new stage in her life.
This one time after school, and kind of like the advisors and some of the captains were like together, and we were kind of having a serious talk, but eventually the topic came up where I think it was Steph. She asked, who keeps changing the attendance word to nuts? And it wasn't very appropriate, which is why it was like so weird. For the first time I saw Miss Benyash just like turn red. She was just laughing. She was like trying to hide it. It was so funny because she has like such a very composed type of persona. So it was really funny to just kind of see her like let loose and get like laugh over like stupid, corny stuff. That's gotta be my favorite moment with Miss Benyash, honestly.
After our most recent conference at USC, when all the committees were ended and me and her just talked about the most random things. She talked about Sherlock Holmes and I talked about TXT, and we both bonded over how we have interests that are similar to each other in that we both obsess over them to a greater extent.
Okay, so over the summer, all the captains had this like leadership training thing, and one of those bonding experiences was a D&D campaign. I remember Miss Benyash put on her original music, which really set the tone of the session.
I watched as the light left the room. I started talking it down. Just breathe for a moment or two, we can figure this out. But she said she needed silence so I don't make a sound. And all at once you started breaking down, down, down. I've been saying please don't leave me now.
What's your favorite moment with Mr. Mandel?
So, might seem a little strange, but my favorite moment with Mr. Mandel is actually when I cried at the CSUN practice my sophomore year, because I was so stressed and I was so anxious about going to New York for the first time as the only sophomore, the youngest on the team to do so. I felt very overwhelmed, and Mr. Mandel and Aryan and Adam, they worked really hard to cheer me and a few others that were feeling stressed out, and they were so kind, and Mr. Mandel has always been so kind and amazing to all of us, and I feel that seeing him cheering me up and my friends like that was so powerful, and it's one of my favorite memories with Mr. Mandel.
My favorite MUN experience with Mr. Mandel was when we went to Blackberry Diner when we were at Berkeley, and I had Fallon on one side of me and Amber on the other side of me, and they were having like a little moment, but then Mr. Mandel came over and he noticed, and instead of like directly addressing it, he just told us like fun stories about his childhood, which allowed us to like create a deeper connection with Mr. Mandel. It was really fun, the whole experience.
My favorite experience is probably 2023 at SC MUN. Basically, me and my friends had just finished our first session, and Mr. Mandel like came up to us while we were like sitting on the grass, literally exhausted, and he told us to get up and dance it out. And he was right, and he was saying how like emotion motion creates emotion. And after that session, me and my friends ate up our committee, and that's something that I will cherish forever.
I enjoyed a lot of moments with Mr. Mandel, but they're all under the same genre of just basically him making everybody really happy. Like, MUN was such a positive environment. I remember, like, I couldn't be upset for such a long time because Mr. Mandel created such a positive environment where everybody felt included, and I think that was one of, like, the best things about MUN.
After VRMUN 2024, we were all celebrating at CPK, and he was telling us his teenage stories on how he has his lifelong friends, and the waiter was actually his childhood friend. And so it was so beautiful to me to know that maybe this could be with all the people that we meet in MUN in the future.
My favorite moment is that during VRMUN, my high heels were like a little bit too tall, and we nearly missed the bus, but Mr. Mandel stopped the bus and let me go back to the seat before we nearly got lost.
My favorite moment with Mr. Mandel was when we were in New York and walking around Times Square through all the chaos, and he was just telling me about his journey to Model UN and all of his teacher drama.
My favorite moment is when in New York, when after New York finished, I was pretty upset about the occurrences that happened, and he really just motivated me. He really gave me that sense that the world wasn't ending. He's someone whose voice can simply charm you at the slightest, and he really helped me recover from the conference really quickly, and I really appreciate not just that, but everything that he gives just by the simple words that he speaks.
Nothing's changed. I'm still a boy inside my thoughts. Am I meant to understand my faults?
What is your favorite aspect of MUN?
So I really enjoy how accepting and inviting the advisors have made the MUN room feel. And it just makes everyone, like myself included, just feel like family. And it's a really nice environment to be met with after school, after like 6 periods or 7 periods of like class. And even though we're continuing MUN next year, and I'm sure our captains will be able to do a really good job of creating that same environment, I just don't think it'll be the same without our advisors. So I'll really miss Mr. Mandel, Miss Benyash, and I guess Mr. John will still be there too, but he's going to be later. So I'll miss Mr. John for the 10 minutes we don't have him as well.
My favorite aspect of MUN is truly the community and the family that is built within the team, and I can thank the advisors a lot for this, because the advisors, when I first joined, I was really scared of joining MUN, and I didn't know how I was going to make friends, how I was going to meet new people, because I honestly didn't even know what MUN was. But the second I walked in on the first day, I was greeted by not only the team, but the advisors with such open arms, with kindness, and I have just constantly seen the team that wants to include inclusivity, and I just have always felt included.
I have to say that my favorite aspect of MUN has got to be the community that's built around it. It's so supportive. I generally wouldn't be who I am without the support of this community and what has happened because of not only the advisors, but the community that Mandel, Benyash, John, you all created. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
I think my favorite aspect of MUN is definitely the advisors and the community that they have allowed us to create. I know that it's a very sad time, but I also think that if the advisors were in our shoes, they would want us to, make the best decisions for ourselves to, be happy. So I think we owe it to them to also have the same mindset and, just try to support them in whatever they want to do.
My favorite aspect of MUN is just generally the community that we've built here, and that was all thanks to our core 3, our favorite advisors, Mr. Mandel, Mr. John, and Ms. Benyash. I think that they did such an incredible job of making everyone just feel so included, and that's what I love so much about MUN and my experience here, is that every conversation, every jokes that we shared, especially from advisors to students and etc., it's just been such a positive experience, which made my MUN journey much more appreciated and much more valuable.
My favorite aspect about MUN is the community. The advisors really did a good job in making everyone feel welcome and have everyone engaged within the community.
My favorite aspect of MUN is really coming together as a community and being able to create solutions that are not only pivotal to the world, but also pivotal to ourselves as delegates that participate in these committees to make change for our future, because whatever we do now is so extremely important to what happens in our future, and I think our advisors have done a great job of teaching us that.
My favorite aspect of MUN is definitely the community that it brings, and one thing that I didn't expect while joining MUN was becoming so close with all of the other delegates on the team, and especially with the advisors. I feel like they just bring such a cozy and homey feeling with them, and I think that's definitely why I've been able to expand in my self-growth and grow as a person and a delegate.
My favorite aspect of MUN is the supportive environment that the advisors and students alike have created.
My favorite aspect about MUN is that it creates this community where everyone is so connected and everyone is so close, and I love that the advisors have played such a huge role in shaping this community and allowing us to be so close together and work together, and it allowed me and so many other people to make so many friends, and I'm so grateful that the advisors have created such an amazing MUN experience for us.
Well, a landslide bring it down.